following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 3, Writing and Presenting. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to consider whether content, style, register, and effects are appropriate to purpose, audience, and context, and adjust where necessary. Hi everyone! By now you should have quite a good idea of some of the practical steps and techniques necessary to write well. You could almost say that now you've got the bones of a good piece of writing. A good strong structure will get you a long way to your goal of writing well. But let's face it, you could say it is as dry as old bones and could do with a bit of fleshing out. So the challenge that we are faced with now is to give your writing style, colour and a bit of va-va-voom. Think about the word style for a moment. We all know someone who's got it.
Ashley Simpson, Janet Jackson, David Beckham.
What gives a person style? What is it about them that makes us think that they have style?
Someone with style knows how to carry him or herself.
You don't have to have money to have style.
People with style just know how to put things together so they look good.
Confidence gives you style.
Well, the same thing is true about writing style. When you write with a particular style, you dress up your thoughts in words. The great writer Jonathan Swift once said, "Proper words in proper places make the true definition of style." When you pay attention to the words you choose to express your ideas, you give your writing style. And well-dressed ideas are always more interesting to read and more interesting to write. Something to remember is that, just like in real life, style depends on the situation. Proper words in the proper places give the true definition of style. We need to decide how and when and what words to choose. No problem. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify how writing style is affected by word choice, tone, and style, and use these stylistic effectively in your own writing. Style is the way in which text has been constructed or expressed through the use of language. And as we know, style refers to the form of communication that you use depending on who your audience is and why you are writing. Take your mind back to lesson 1, where we learned that the first step in the writing process is to think about our purpose for writing. The advice was to read the topic carefully and ask yourself, what am I being asked to do? How much should I write? Who is the audience for this piece of writing? What style and register should I use? We have to ask ourselves, who is the writing intended for before we even begin, because this will determine the appropriate style for our writing for any given task. We also have to think about what the intention is of the writing. Have a look at this list of intentions and take a moment to match each type of writing with an intention. What you are writing and who you are writing for will affect the style you will use, and then the words you choose and the sentences you make and the punctuation you use creates particular style. Now let's do a style experiment. Here are 2 paragraphs. The ideas expressed in both paragraphs are exactly the same, but the style used in each case is completely different. Here is the first paragraph.
To get to my house from the main road, you must go right at the small vegetable shop on the corner of 1st Street and 3rd Avenue. Then go straight along until you get to a set of traffic lights. Turn left at the traffic light. Go down Church Street. There is no street sign, but you will know that it is the right street because there are lots of trees along the pavement. My house is number 24, the small house with a blue gate.
Now here is the second paragraph.
I know I'm nearly home when I get off the taxi on the main road. I walk past the little shop where I stop and buy some vegetables for supper. After the vegetable shop, I walk down a long, hot road. On a summer's day, the heat off the tar makes my head dizzy and my legs feel like they weigh 100 kilograms. But it is worth it because around the corner, I come to a street that has trees that have stood since my mother was young. The road is cool and green. It's like walking at the bottom of a deep, silent lake. Suddenly, I hear the bright blue metal gate click closed behind me. I am home.
Now let's analyze each paragraph style by answering the following questions. Who is the audience for the writing? What is the reason or intention for writing? How is the style affected by word choice, tone, and figurative language? But first, let's recap what some of these terms mean. Tone in writing is the attitude or feeling that the words create in the reader. The tone of a piece of writing can be funny or sad or angry or persuasive. Something else that adds to the style of a piece of writing are the figures of speech that are used. We've learnt about figures of speech in other series of lessons, but here are the most common figures of speech and some examples. Figures of speech include the simile. For example, my mouth was as dry as sand. She smiled at me like the sun coming out from behind a cloud. The other common figure of speech is the metaphor. For example, my father is a lion when he gets angry. Using metaphors and similes adds color, texture, and interest to your writing style. Formal language is used in serious or important situations, such as business writing or newspaper articles, and when people of different status talk to one another or when someone talks to a large audience. It contains complete sentences, precise vocabulary, and correct grammatical structures. But now let's get back to looking at the style of the two pieces of writing. Here are the questions again. Take a minute to see if you can answer the questions yourself. Who is the audience for the writing? What is the reason or intention for writing? How is the style affected by word choice, tone, and figurative language? Our first question is who is the audience for the writing?
The person who is reading the first paragraph is somebody who needs directions to a house.
Next, we ask ourselves, what is the reason or intention for writing?
The intention is to give clear instructions that are easy to follow.
What about the use of word choice, tone, and figurative speech?
The writer chooses words that are factual, like turn right, go straight, or my house is number 24. The tone is neutral and is about facts. There are no feelings or attitudes expressed. The figurative language is not used at all.
So what we have here is a writing style that is very simple, factual, and plain. This is great because it suits the intention, which is to give clear instructions and help somebody find the house. Now let's look at the second piece. Our first question is who is the audience for the writing?
This piece might be read by a teacher if it is an assignment for a class, or it might be someone reading a story about a girl's life and feelings.
Next, we ask ourselves, what is the reason or intention for writing?
The intention is to make the reader really understand and experience what the writer is trying to say about going home. The intention is to describe personal and subjective feelings.
What about the use of word choice, tone, and figurative speech?
The writer chooses words that are very descriptive, such as cool and green, and tells us about the heat off the road makes me dizzy. She writes from a personal point of view, using the words I and my. The tone is poetic and includes many images and descriptions, which tells us that it is also subjective and personal to the writer. There is lots of figurative language used, with similes like, my legs feel like they weigh 100 kilograms, and it was like waking up at the bottom of a lake.
So what we have here is a writing style that is very descriptive and personal. This is very suitable because the intention was to create pictures in the reader's mind and get them to experience the trip to the writer's home through words. Write 2 paragraphs. The first should be the instructions how to do something very simple, perhaps how to make a cup of tea or a sandwich. The second paragraph should be a description of the way you felt the last time you were really excited about something. Remember to think about the different elements that we learnt about today. The words you choose, the tone you use, the figurative language you use. Join me in the next lesson when we will be looking at style in more detail.